The living Canadian-Russian boxing savant Artur Beterbiev settles in after a long and successful undefeated career. On the line now are two of his light heavyweight world titles. The Englishman Callum is coming for his world titles in a title shot that has evaded him for far too long. Can he square up to beat the beast from Dagestan, who has a 100% KO rate? It's going down in Quebec, and this is all that led up to it. Beterbiev's record in the making. Artur Beterbiev Beterbiev was born on January 21, 1985, in the city of Satiate, in the Republic of Dagestan, Russia. Of course, everyone has heard of Dagestan by now, due to it being associated with none other than the likes of Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev. His hometown Yazovert is known for its wrestling pedigree, having produced numerous Olympic qualifiers in the sport. Beterbiev was introduced to boxing through the influence of his four brothers. They took him to the gym when he was 11 years old to keep him off the streets. This was far from a good time for the region of Dagestan, and this was the environment that prompted some of Dagestan's elders to start teaching sports. It was not very long after Beterbiev's first few years as a child that the Soviet Union broke up and life became very hard for everyone. His parents did their best to make ends meet. They were a large family, and his father supported all of them to make sure they had the necessary things. But Dagestan neighbored the then war-torn Chechnya, which sparked a flood of refugees entering Dagestan. The Beterbiev household alone housed 30 refugees at one point. Tragically, Beterbiev lost his father in a car accident in 2001. His father was the only financial income for the family. Besides his father, his brother supported him financially when he was in the juniors and at the beginning of his adult career. Of course, keeping him from getting into more street fights was still somewhat of a primary objective, class boxer. As for his mother, she took care of Artur and his four elder brothers. During his training camps, he stuck to the strict diet that his mother provided. From this time forward, it was clear that he wasn't going to get a degree and get engaged in a 9-to-5, nor is he going to be a Russian workman. He went on to become one of Russia's most celebrated amateur boxers and will go on to become a decorated amateur. He stopped counting the number of amateur fights he had when it reached over 100 bouts. Overall, to his estimate, he had a total of 700 fights in his amateur career. His first international competitive outing at the 2006 European Amateur Boxing Championship saw Beterbiev display an energizing and strong performance, beating Kenneth Egan and the Ukrainian amateur Ismail Sikla, among others. He also beat Igor Mekhinstev, but lost to two-time world champion Evgeny Makarenko. Next year's 2007 World Championship saw Beterbiev win a silver medal. He beat future unified light heavyweight champion Sergey Kovalev in the semifinals and eventually beat Evgeny Makarenko in finals to qualify for the World Championships. But in the finals of the 2007 World Championships, he faced little-known Abos Atuev, but lost in an upset. A trophy would elude him for now, but he secured a spot in the highest amateur boxing platform of all, the 2008 Olympics. Beterbiev beat Kennedy Katende 15-3. Then at the round of 16, he fell controversially to local boxer Zhang Xiaoping, who went on to win the gold medal. 2009 would prove to be a particularly good year for him, as in the 2009 World Championship, Beterbiev won the light heavyweight title, beating young Cuban Jose Lardue and Uzbek Elshad Razilov. After spending the year 2010 competing entirely within Russia, he would try his hand in the 2011 World Championships. He managed to reach the quarterfinals this time, and he lost to none other than the Ukrainian Alexander Usyk by 13-17. Next year's London Olympics would, in a cruel twist of irony, see him beaten by Usyk yet again. Artur Beterbiev had a remarkable amateur career in boxing, competing as a light heavyweight and heavyweight. In 2010, he was nominated as the pound-for-pound #1 by ABA. You can in fact conclude that a target was born after those fights he lost to Usyk, but that would have to wait. He had a pro ladder to climb. He made the move to Canada in 2013, after evaluating Germany and USA, to kickstart his professional career off the strongest platform possible. Coming under the wing of coach Mark Ramsey, he took the Canadian scene by storm in his first few fights. His dominance landed him a 2015 North American Boxing Association title fight against Alexander Johnson, which he ended with the 7th round KO. It's because of his scarily effortless dismantling of the light heavyweight bracket that he was awarded his IBF World title fight in 2017 against Enrico Colling. This was the only professional fight of his career that took him all 12 rounds to win. Shocking everyone, he knocked down Colling twice in the final round, making him unable to continue the fight much longer. With the fight being held in Fresno, California, and win by KO before snatching the WBO title from Joe Smith Jr., in an even more brutal second-round KO in 2022. Honestly, this guy dominates so much that it's boring, and he's been taking it slowly and carefully, training for each and every single one of his bouts, so that's how he forged a 100% knockout rate out of 19 professional bouts won. Could he get around to defeating his amateur rival Alexander Usyk by moving up a weight class? It remains to be seen, but the chances are slim. But it would go down instantly as one of the best fights of the 21st century. Callum Smith looking to satiate his hunger. Callum John Smith was born on April 23, 1990 in Liverpool, England. He is the youngest of 4 brothers, Paul, Stephen, and Liam. As fate would have it, all of them became professional boxers later in life. The Smith family also includes 2 younger sisters, giving him family support for life. While not much can be gleaned from online sources about Callum Smith's early life at this stage, we know that as an amateur, Smith represented Rotunda ABC in Liverpool at the domestic level. He won the 2010 Great Britain welterweight title and the 2011 Great Britain middleweight title, moving up slowly in weight. He had already gone international by that point, as his amateur career also included participation in the 2010 Commonwealth Games in New Delhi, India. He won a silver medal in the welterweight division, following in the footsteps of his brother Paul and Stephen, who had also won medals at previous Commonwealth Games. His victories over Aston Brown of Scotland and Carl Hild of Bahrain led him to the final, where he was defeated by Northern Irish Paddy Gallagher. Smith's attempt to represent GB's boxing light heavyweight, 81 kilograms, at the 2012 Olympic Games in London ended in disappointment and controversy at the final Olympic qualification tournament in Trabzon, Turkey. After losing 16-14 to Azerbaijan's Vaitan Husenli, his hopes relied on the man who had beaten him in the previous round. However, Husenli lost to local Turkish boxer Baran Muzaffar, and Smith missed out on the 3rd qualifying place on a points difference. Despite this setback, Smith's amateur career laid a solid foundation for his subsequent success as a professional boxer, and off he went, making his mark in the local UK scene for 2 years. This early career stage culminated in a showdown against Nikola Seloka by the end of the year for the WBC international title. Of course, by that point, he had won several regional titles too. Luke Blackledge in 2016 and George Groves in 2018 were proved to be some of his most toughest opponents. But Smith proved to be even tougher, as he floored them both with knockouts. His victory over George Groves made him a Super World Champion in the middleweight category for the first time ever. It was because of this that 2018 also saw him win the World Boxing Super Series Super Middleweight Tournament, also winning the prestigious Muhammad Ali Trophy in the process. But a fateful matchup against none other than Canelo Alvarez in 2020 would result in a unanimous decision loss that would take away his title. To this day, that stands as his only professional defeat, as he went on to take his time and take 1 fight each in 2021 and 2022. He won both of those fights, and he's been getting busy, giving it his all to face Artur Beterbiev for a straight shot at 3 world titles. Needless to say, the odds seem to be against him, but you can't tell someone from Liverpool that the odds are stacked against him. It's an exciting fight. It's exactly what I'm boxing for, to win world titles. I get to win 3 if I win this fight. It's a huge fight for me, but it's a fight I've always liked. I've known of Artur Beterbiev for a long time. I know his style, and I feel it matches up pretty well with mine. I think from a neutral view, it's a pretty exciting fight, but I'm fully confident of going out there, coming out on top, and taking his belt off him, said Smith in media reports. Fighters compared. Now, there could be no doubt that Beterbiev is known for his exceptional punching power, having won all his professional fights by knockout or stoppage. He fights from an orthodox stance. He's the textbook definition of a power puncher, and he's as much of a power puncher as one could get, relying on his knockout power to end his fights early. His opponents know they cannot afford to let their guard down, as the slightest mistake can lead to a devastating punch from Beterbiev. To no avail though, as Beterbiev is the one with the 100% knockout rate. Boxing pundits and analysts alike have hailed Beterviev's boxing skills, citing his ability to read his opponents and counter their attacks. His defense is also highly effective, deflecting punches and dodging shots from his opponents. But Callum Smith believes that not to be much of a factor helping him. He's not an elusive, hard-to-hit fighter. I do see ways in which I believe I can win. If somebody's there for me to hit, I definitely believe I can hurt them. And when I've seen other fighters hurt them, I definitely believe I can do the same. I'm going over there with the full belief that if I catch him, I hurt him. And if I hurt him, I believe I can get rid of him, he continued. Smith also fights from a traditional orthodox stance, which means he favors his right hand as his power hand when fighting. Smith is not just a big puncher. He believes he has skills to go with it. He's been quoted saying, "I'm not just a big lump with limited ability. I believe I've got skills to go with it. I don't believe I will be in the position that I am now if I didn't have no skills and ability." Smith therefore wants you to know that he relies on a combination of power and skill in his fights, which of course has been shown repeatedly and most spectacularly during his title fights. While both fighters are orthodox and have impressive knockout records, Beterbiev is known for his raw power and effective defense, while Smith combines power with skill and tactical acumen. Nevertheless, it remains to be seen whether he can deal with the raw force of nature that Beterbiev is. Will Artur Beterbiev prove yet again why he's a legend? Or will Callum Smith finally become what he's wanted to be for so long? Leave us a like and subscribe if you agree with our assessment of this showdown. We'll see you again when the dust settles on the canvas.